I am Jack Brewer with Expanding Frontiers Research. Joining me is Thomas Winterton. He is the superintendent of Skinwalker Ranch. He is the managing director of Intermountain Economic Consulting, among other ventures, and he has agreed to talk with me this morning in his time zone and afternoon in mine. Thank you for joining me, sir.
You're welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Sure. I will respect your time and just jump right in. I have 4 or 5 points I'd appreciate you addressing. The first, as covered in my previous article, was that injury claims by people, including yourself, around Skinwalker Ranch make claims that potentially serious injuries occur. I'm sure you're aware of Dr. Taylor, who discusses an alleged hitchhiker phenomenon that he has asserted follows people home and even causes cancer. In spite of this, there have been that I have been able to find through records requests, no reports of radiation or diseases, circumstances such as Dr. Taylor talks about, to the Center for Disease Control or the Utah Department of Environmental Quality. And so, if you would please address how people should square that these claims are made, yet cast members of the show, for instance, continue to frequent the ranch and even invite people from the four corners of the globe to the area as a tourism draw.
Sure. So we have recorded incidents of high radiation. There have been many illnesses associated, or I should say correlated with visits to the ranch. Now, the thing about science is that correlation is not causation. We suspect these things may be true, but we are still collecting data to either prove or disprove those claims. One of the phenomena of the ranch is that whatever it is that we are witnessing is transient. It comes and goes. And there's another aspect to this that we're still trying to understand whether we are actually recording radiation or whether our equipment is being manipulated or spoofed through electromagnetic interference. All of these equipment that we are using, at least in measurement terms, have some type of circuitry in them and are susceptible to electromagnetic interference. So we are making claims, or we're not making any claims as far as broadly. What we're doing is asking questions. And Dr. Taylor feels strongly that indeed he did receive that on the ranch. We have made it very public. I don't know how you make it any more public than what we have done through the worldwide distribution on television. As far as Centers for Disease Control, we continue to take data, and as soon as we have something that we feel merits, I guess we're in the middle of investigation. How many science journal papers are released in the middle of their process? Usually they run the tests. So I will just say that we are still trying to understand exactly what it is. Now we have, when we bring people on, we make them well aware. Now each time that we're made aware of a new risk, we make individuals completely aware of what that risk is. We don't know if it is contained solely to the ranch, if it is broader into the broader basin area. These things we don't know, and people live here, so we have an economy to support. We have no problem inviting people from the four corners of the globe to come to the Uintah Basin and prop up and help us with our economy.
Is it safe to say you don't believe they will catch cancer in Uintah County and take it home?
On a one-time, first of all, I don't think anyone's made the claim that anyone has captured cancer from a single visit to the ranch. I'm not aware of any claims like that. I'm not aware of any claims that just a single visit. Now, I am
I
aware of
did not
claims.
assert that, sir.
Okay.
I'm quoting Dr. Taylor, who says at the Phenomenon where he was paid to appear, as you well know, that he associated paranormal phenomena with the ranch that followed a person home and caused cancer.
That is a claim that those individuals made. He was quoting some individuals who have been very public about it. And you
Okay.
can go look at George Knapp's talk at Phenomenon in 2021, and he claimed the same thing. But we're not stating that it's true or not true. We're just relating information as it's been passed on to us.
Okay. And
And
as
I
I
don't know
told
any other
you,
instance. There,
at,
many people make the claims that that UFO sightings or other paranormal exposure can lead to the same thing. Yet people travel to Roswell or to other hot spots around the globe. I don't know where we're being dishonest
okay.
or doing a disservice.
As I told you, I don't want to be combative, and I do have a few points, so I'll move along. I
Okay, go
just
ahead.
want to get your stance, your
Perfect.
position on these
Yep,
issues.
of course.
Um, Members of the cast of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch were paid by Uintah County for economic development services, as this video will be in an accompanying article about Intermountain Economic Consulting. And then some people as well, such as you, were then paid again to appear at Phenomenon. Would you please address how it could be perceived that gives you a financial incentive to keep the narrative going?
Oh, I see where you're going with this. Okay. Well, first of all, it needs to be clear that all of us, every cast member on the ranch, with the exception of Eric Bard, who is a full-time scientist, the rest of us all have day jobs that we have to do to pay for our bills and support our families. The filming at the ranch makes up 3 months of our time. Now, I am manager year round. I spend a couple days a week there managing the facility and the the activities there on the ranch, but that is not my source of income that pays my bills. So first of all, Intermountain Economic Consulting is a separate company from Skinwalker Ranch. And while yes, Brandon Fugel and I are business partners in Intermountain Economic Consulting, he's also the chairman of Colliers International, as well as involved with other companies, as am I. I have several other companies that I own, and Jim Morse is an advisor with us on Intermountain Economic. He was a paid employee for Intermountain Economic. Now, what we do at Intermountain Economic, which is completely separate from, I take issue with you saying cast members. Yes, we are cast members of the ranch, but outside of the ranch, we're business partners, and we do business activities completely separate from Skinwalker Ranch. Now, Uintah County Economic Development Director left the period of almost a year that they had no economic development director, as did Duchesne County. They do have economic development director, but she was elected to county commissioners, been doing both positions. Many counties in the state of Utah, if you will do your homework and go ask the counties, they have hired consultants to do economic development, such as what IEC performs, except for they are as much as 3 and 4 times more expensive than what we are charging. We provided economic development services as consultants to the counties. and also some of the municipalities in the area where we are paid. This is no different than what any of the counties out on the Wasatch Front or in the state of Utah do. As far as our services, I will give you a prime example. If you're familiar with what county government does, what the local county government, how it's made up and what its objectives are, most counties will have an economic development director that spends full time trying to create jobs in the local area. We do this. I believe in your email to me, you asked why some of the county officials reference Colliers. Brandon and I are partners in Intermountain Economic. He's also the chairman of Colliers. Colliers is a strategic partner with Intermountain Economic. We're able to utilize some of their services. Now, for people that don't understand how economic development works, Brandon has been very successful. Matter of fact, Governor Herbert, the state of Utah, once said that Brandon was one of the most, I'm going to misquote him, but he basically said Brandon's done more for bringing in jobs to Utah than any other individual in the state. So we go out there, we try to find companies that are looking to either expand or relocate, and then we try to entice them to the local area. The governor's Office of Economic Development, sometimes referred to as GOED, does this on a state level. They will send out what's called RFQs or RFPs to the local counties. This is where they get a solicitation from a company outside of the area that's looking to relocate. They have a list of qualifications that they're looking for, whether that's the amount of land that they're looking for, the labor force, or it could be any number of things, utilities that are there. And the state sends that out to local counties with the hope that maybe we can attract one of these businesses into the area. Uintah Basin is so.
May I ask?
Uintah Basin is solely reliant almost entirely on the oil industry. We're trying very hard to diversify our economy because our economy goes through booms and busts. So the county's Colliers International is the sole and exclusive site selector for companies such as Target, Costco, Best Buy. And for people that don't understand how the process works, these companies will select a company like Colliers. And when they want to expand, they have Colliers site selectors go out and do all the work and bring them back a list of suitable locations that would be good for relocation. So if you want to be involved in actual legitimate site selection, you need to be tied in with a site selector. That's our strategic partnership. Let me finish, please. Uintah County and Duchesne County, in 25 years of being sent out RFPs by the governor's office, never one time, to my knowledge, has those RFPs ever chose a rural Utah location for their setup. They always choose the Wasatch Front. During our time, so the county contract with us, during our first year, which anybody that's in space knows sometimes it takes years to put together a big deal. Years. These decisions are not made overnight. In our first year, we were able to bring in an electrical manufacturer to Uintah County that's going to be building a 500,000 square foot electric vehicle factory and be producing 50,000 electric vehicles here in Uintah County. 500 full-time, well-paid jobs. And if anybody would like to go and talk to the CEO and president of that company, the one that made the decision, he will tell you that IEC played an instrumental and critical role in landing them in Uintah County. So the county paid us $58,500, if I remember right, which is not even what they pay their economic development director full-time. And we landed them this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help diversify the economy. Pretty good bang for their buck. Duchesne County, we literally have hundreds of millions of dollars in deals that are in the works that I can't even speak about because of non-disclosures that are taking place. So we have busted our hind ends and brought a great value. One more thing I'll list is Uintah County just 2 weeks ago, I believe if you go and research KSL News, you'll see an article. Uintah County was just awarded $4 million in grant money by the EPA to buy electric buses and electrify their fleet. In that, article, the school district solely cites that their decision to do that was based on a letter they received from the Utah Petroleum Association. That letter was by me and Intermountain Economic. I went and approached the oil companies. I got it signed there, and we got it sent to Uintah County so that they could apply. So there again, $4 million that have been brought to county is a direct result of our work at Intermountain Economic Consulting. We continue to over deliver on a great value for our clients. And we have many other government entities now that are approaching us and asking us to do the same thing for them.
Okay. I want to give you an opportunity to feel heard and feel that you present your case. I might have to call a timeout though to get all of my questions in. Okay.
I will give you whatever time you need.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the Colliers issue, I do not claim to be qualified to cite in any potential problems or discrepancies in the real estate market. What stood out to me as a writer and a researcher is that the public agendas and the discussions at commission meetings, county commission meetings, and the Uintah County budget referenced payment to Colliers, and the check is not to Colliers, it's to Intermountain Consulting. So to me, that's something to look into and ask about, is why I brought it up. I understand that Mr. Fugel is closely related with Colliers. You mentioned though that
on that point, if you go back to the actual recording in the county commission meeting, you will hear me say Intermountain Economic Consulting. Whether they had it in their heads it was Colliers or not, the fact is that we never misrepresented that as them doing business
how
with
would they
Colliers.
have gotten that in their head?
Because Brandon is the chairman of Colliers International. When he gives them a business card, it says Colliers on it.
Thank you. Okay, and you mentioned that a great deal, you feel a great deal of work was brought to the area for that 58,000, and you mentioned people I could call. Do you have any data that you can present? See, the way I look at things, sir, is I do records requests, and when I did a records request,
Sure.
repeated ones on IEC, I got no responsive documents of deliverables or final reports. I couldn't run down if the contracts had been renewed. I was able to see it was a 12-month contract. Has that been renewed?
So I'll give you some nuggets. You can go grandma request. I sent an email to the commissioners on October 11th of 2021. Our contract was due to expire in January. Now, mind you, we were able to close this deal with this electric vehicle company. I mean, any place in the country would call that a win-win. 58,000 for 500 jobs. That's a fantastic value. Now, we could have easily called it good January and said we fulfilled our contract, but because we had Jim Morse, who put in more than 40 hours a week in Uintah County for the entire year. So we met our contractual obligations. I personally felt there was more I wanted to do. So you can go grandma request an email that I sent, Thomas Winterton, to the 3 commissioners on October 11th. And I told them that I updated them on our progress. And I also told them that I wanted to extend the contract at no cost to the county for an extra 8 weeks to make up for the time that I was filming. That contract, that is in writing. I continued to work even beyond that 8 weeks until almost the 1st of May for Uintah County. The discussion was that we would renew that. But by the time I finished what I felt completely met my obligation, where I have 100% clear conscience on everything, that was around the middle of April. I knew that filming would be coming around again. And I had discussions with Brandon and told him I was not going to approach the county just to have to leave in a month uh, to start filming. So that we agreed to wait until filming was done. I will be reapproaching Uintah County and asking them if they would like to.
And did the
And I,
contracts with Duchesne and Daggett get renewed?
it's the exact same scenario with them.
Thank you.
I, I
Uh,
only, I have never taken advantage of anybody. And I have to say, I felt really targeted in your piece. I feel like my character's been attacked. I know there was a podcast done recently. I feel like this has been very one-sided reporting on your part and not accurate to all of the facts. So I apologize for being a little defensive, but I feel like this is a little bit of a witch hunt.
Did you receive my emails to ask you for comment on the first piece?
I did not receive emails from you, but I will tell you this. I literally receive hundreds of messages a week from fans of the show, and it's very possible that yours slipped in there with them.
Okay. I have one more question, please, and then I'll allow you to state what you'd like in closing. The Vernal City Manager, Binion, mentioned to me in an email, as was documented in the previous article, that he was part of an organizing committee for Phenomicon, and that this organizing committee decided the speakers and the amounts of compensation paid to the speakers. Were you part of that organizing committee?
I am, and I'm very proud to be part of it. I will say that in planning this for the first time, this is a first of its kind in Uintah County. I offered them uh, comparisons as to what had been paid to us in other conferences that we have attended, but I did not ask for a specific amount, nor did I have anything to do with my compensation or the rest of the team. It was a discussion, but ultimately it was the tourism and the um, the
Travel and
tourism.
tourism.
Thank you. It was the travel and tourism directors that made that call. All I did was show them previous compensations. And if you will look at our compensations as far as our speakers fee, you'll see that it's actually very comparable to what you would find at other conferences. I've actually been paid more at other conferences than this. And I offered to volunteer my services at this one, but they didn't feel that it was right. I put in a lot of work during Phenomicon, and I didn't receive a penny. It was, the committee is completely volunteer. So I would say during the course of the year, I volunteer anywhere from 40 to 50 hours of my time to help organize this event. I do that completely. I don't get paid for that time. I don't get paid for my efforts. And as far as compensation, if you go look at what I was offered versus other speakers, there were many other speakers that were paid more than I was in speaker fees. Now, add-ons, the activities, those are different, and but the agreement is the same for everybody. So I don't have a special percentage that just applies to me. The arrangement is the same for all of us, and it comes down to number of tickets that are sold. And I by far sold more tickets than anybody else for my events. So it's the same contract and percentage.
Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing, or anything you'd like to ask of me?
Yeah, I'm curious what your fascination is with Vernal. You're not a resident of if I'm correct, you're not a resident of Utah. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Out of all of the problems in the United States or the world for that matter, what is the fascination with trying this feel? I apologize. I'm sure you're a very nice individual. I feel very targeted in this when we have bent over backwards to do nothing but help the community. I have the original emails proposing what different ways that local businesses could get involved that had nothing to do with me, just ways to help get businesses involved that could capitalize on the tourism that's coming in. Did you know that Skinwalker Ranch, our film production, the past 4 years, these are the easy numbers that are easy to calculate. That's hotels, that's food that's paid to caterers, and equipment that's rented in the area. Just those three categories. It doesn't take into account any spending that's done anywhere else. We have the production has brought $4.5 million direct spending into the area. That doesn't account for the tourism it's brought, doesn't bring in, that doesn't count Phenomicon. That is simply the money that the production is spent on hotels, food, and equipment. So we've done nothing but try to help the local area, and I feel like you and your counterparts are doing your best to try to disparage and tear down something that the community openly embraces and is thankful for. We work so hard to try to get people here in this small community, and it's disheartening when we have outside individuals with no stake or interest in the local area come in. And you didn't mention any of the economic benefits in your article. You didn't mention that that's the purpose of tourism, travel and tourism budgets, is to actually draw in tourism. I feel like you guys are attacking us, and I feel like you guys are not being honest with us as far as the intentions behind this, because one of your counterparts, I feel, has a serious axe to grind with the Skinwalker Ranch crew, and I feel like that's what's motivated. So maybe I would love to give you a chance to speak to that, and because I don't want this to be one-sided either. You need the chance to be able to answer that as well, and I'll give you whatever time you need to answer that.
Thank you. Personally, I have written about the UFO community and the people that populate it for, I started a blog in 2010 and was interested long before that. And I have a couple of self-published books about the narratives and the social circumstances that surround the unsupported stories, unverified claims that often intermingle with the intelligence community. So personally, that's part of my interest. I began interacting and collaborating with Erica Lutz about 4 years ago, and since found her to be one of the better informed people as far as the players in the Uintah Basin and the stories of the area go, and am proud to work with her at Expanding Frontiers Research. I got to notice that we're out of time, but I am
You've
proud
still
to
got
work,
10 minutes.
I'm proud to work with her, and my interest. I'll tell you frankly, as I began to send emails and ask people for comment, as I conducted grammar requests, I do not doubt that you and some of the people in your area feel targeted and attacked. From my perspective, it felt more like a thread of entitlement, of being asked to have transparency of government. And one of the things that particularly interested me about Phenomicon was that we get into a whole different set of circumstances when we take these stories and these conferences and the capitalist elements of it and have county governments funding it, and when tax money gets in what I sometimes refer to as the UFO carnival business. As far though as targeting you, for instance, I also have request into the city of Roswell, and I'm expecting them any day, literally maybe in my post office box now as we speak. And I anticipate writing about them as well and seeing how that shapes up. Does that adequately answer your question?
Yeah, and look, I'm all about transparency. I'm very proud of everything that we've accomplished here. The important thing is that it's reported accurately. That's all I care about. And I didn't feel that in your first article you even covered, I mean, any county in the country, if they could spend $9,000, you know, the economic benefits to that this year are well north of $600,000 for 1 week. That's direct dollars pumped into Uintah County. If you went to
Do you
any
have
county
data that
government,
supports that you could provide me to put in an article?
uh, so the county, you know, the local,
Something on a sheet of paper, like an official
it's,
government
have you,
document.
have you looked at any of the TRT tax reports? Have you looked at any of the sales tax reports? Have you compared them? It's hard because COVID really put a ding in, and this conference has been a godsend as far as its timing because COVID just decimated the economies. But yes, that is actual hard numbers that travel and tourism can get. Now, those numbers for this quarter will not be out until the end of December because they're calculated from the previous quarter. But yes, travel and tourism has actual numbers. And if you, I imagine you read my post on Facebook.
It was forwarded to
Rebutting.
me, yes, sir.
Okay, so if you go down, if you look at that Facebook post and you go down on there, there are comments in there of individuals that traveled there. One gentleman said they spent over $2,500 in Uintah County during their week there. I had the owner of Four Brothers Pizza in Vernal tell me that she saw, I think she said her tax revenue alone for her place for that week was $1,000. Now, if that's the tax revenue, you can imagine how many pizzas that is, because taxes represents a small portion of the actual sell. So there are business owners. When I go into restaurants, I have people thanking me for Phenomicon, the local restaurants and businesses. 800
Giving you
people
the
out of the
benefit of the
area,
doubt.
new money.
Giving you the benefit of the doubt that all of
What's
that is
that?
giving you the benefit of the doubt that all of that is absolutely correct. Do you not see a conflict of interest in county government enabling stories about dogmen at ranches in order to get that tourism?
How is that? How is that any difference from them? The county also puts
So
on
your
the
answer
Energy
would be
Summit. Hang
no,
on.
you don't.
No, I see zero conflict, zero conflict. That's no different than these counties that pay on a regular basis, bring in paid speakers to speak at conference. One example, the energy conference over at over in Vernal.
I don't
They bring
find
in
that
speakers.
remotely comparable, but I understand your argument.
Well, it's topics that the county may or may not condone. They're not saying they condone it. This is all about promoting economic development. Nowhere does the county say we are getting behind what Travis or Thomas or any of the other people claimed. It's simply all they care about is that people come, stay in the hotels, and spend their money at the restaurants. And as long as at the end of the day, the money they spend on the conference is less than the money that they earn on the taxes and the revenue, then it's a net positive for the county. That's all they care. They're not condoning or endorsing any of us by paying. And I can prove that by the fact that they bring in regularly speakers for all different topics and subjects for which they're not saying they endorse them. They're just providing a venue.
All right. I want to thank you for spending some time with me and putting your statements on the record. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having a civil conversation and and being able to give me a chance to speak to this. I respect that and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.